Thank you so much, Conrad, for that. Thank you very much for staying back. Now, Conrad said something very interesting, that this shows how a global economy looks like. 20% of the people, that's you, all of you sitting over here, are still here after 12 hours. I think all of you deserve a big round of applause for that. Thank you so much for investing in your own time, for investing in your own self. So I would like to start this talk with, how did the Unstoppable Millionaire become the Unstoppable Millionaire? It started when I was 17 years old. I come from a very humble family where I wanted to go abroad to get myself educated. So I asked my dad, Dad, I need to go to US and I want to get myself educated. And he said that, okay, all the best. I can't afford it, so I can just help you in Dubai. So I spent over 30 years of my life in Dubai. I grew up in Dubai. I've been in Malaysia for the last 3 years, and I'll tell you a little bit why I've been in Malaysia for the last 3 years. And he said that, you know what, I can't help you with the funds financially, so you figure it out. So I was like, okay, I'm going to go out, and I'm going to look for a part-time job, and I'm going to make so much money that eventually I'll have enough money to go to US to study for myself. So I went looking for a job, and the first time a friend of mine said, you have to see these guys in Dubai. You know what they're doing? They're actually showing you how you can actually earn 5 times more than what a software engineer would earn. So I wanted to be a software engineer, and I'm like, are you crazy? How is that even possible? Because 17 years in my life, I was told something that wasn't true. I was told that I need to go to a good school, get good grades, perfect grades. In fact, if I could, I'll get a great job, I'll make lots and lots of money, and I'll live happily ever after. But that's the story I grew up with for 17 years. So when I came back, meeting some of these entrepreneurs, when I was 17 years old, I was pretty mad at my dad. I'm like, Dad, we need to talk. What happened? Because I met all of these people, and Dad said, you know what, such a thing doesn't exist. My dad has been working with Emirates now for over 37 years. Then he used to do it as a necessity. Now he does it as a hobby. And I'm like, what if they're right? Let's give it a shot. And that's how my journey started. So they were teaching how to be entrepreneurs in 1997. And I'm like, okay, let's give it a shot. What if this person is right? So for 2 years, I kept on struggling. People made fun of me. Can you imagine a 17-year-old trying to be an entrepreneur? Well, in today's world, it still makes sense because we have grown. But if you go back in the 97, they were like, really, seriously, what is this all about? I couldn't even spell entrepreneurship at that point. Imagine that. At the age of 19, I got into a business, taking all the skills I learned, when websites in 1999 was a pretty cool thing. So we started teaching people how they can click a mouse, a few steps, and their website would be up and running. By the age of 21, I had built a $6 million business. And I was like, wow, that's not bad. I had enough money not to just go and get educated, but I had enough money to actually live a great lifestyle. At that point, my business was in 8 countries. Internet was a new phenomenon at that point, and I'm like, wow. I still remember taking a flight to US for the first time with my own money, and I said, Dad, thank you so much. And Dad was like, I didn't do anything. It was all done by you. I said, Dad, you were the first person who said, what is all this about? And I went on a journey to show you that it's possible with the what if. Kept on doing it after rejections as I kept moving forward. When I graduated from US as a software engineer, I came back, and one of my friends was doing the real estate business in Dubai. So one fine morning, I'm not a morning person, just so you know. Now that is what happens when you don't work for someone for 18 years, right? So 6 o'clock in the morning, I still remember that I took a bread from the grocery and I was walking back, and this friend of mine is smiling at 6 o'clock in the morning. He works with Dubai airports. And I thought, after 14 hours of work, you should be tired. Why are you smiling? 6 o'clock in the morning, right? He pulls out a check that was around $12,000, and he says, this is what happened. I said, wow, I didn't know that they pay you so much at the Dubai airports. He says, no, this is not Dubai airports. This is what I earned part-time in the real estate business. Believe it or not, my first question to him was, what is a real estate? What? What is a real estate? He says, you know, those brokers who buy properties and you sell it for them, all of that stuff. I said, I'm in. I needed the money. I'd graduated, spent pretty much all of my money. And I was like, okay, show me how it's done. Now, if you've ever been to Dubai in 2004, 2005, they had sand over there. The tallest tower wasn't there. The Palm Jumeirah wasn't there. None of that was there. It was sand. So he brings me to this deserted area, and I'm all excited, right? He says, okay, this is what we're going to sell. I'm like, what? Sand. He says, then he pulls out the floor plans. But here's this. I'm like, wow, how do you do that? The cheapest property that then was around $200,000, right? So I'm like, how do you do that? I'm like, you know what? It doesn't matter. So we went in, we started building the real estate business. I still remember in Dubai, summers can go up to 50 degrees centigrade. So try and imagine that heat. And we were building the business. I still remember taking an extra shirt because in the car, the air conditioning wasn't enough at times. So, you know, when you meet your clients, you don't want to be all sweaty and drained out, right? So change your shirts. I still remember sitting at the footpath of different villas over there, just having a quick bite so I can eat something and still carry on because I was hungry to be successful again. So this journey of being in the real estate started, deals after deals, deals after deals, I made it big. After 8 months, I was able to close my first deal. The buyer meets the seller. For some reason, I wasn't too good with my agreements. They just throw me out. I get 0. I was having fever of 102, and I was sweating at the developer's office, and they throw me out. That's what happened. And when that happened, because of the entrepreneurship mindset, what I realized is I prayed to God. I said, God, thank you so much for putting me through all this because I know something massive is waiting for me. Right? At the age of 25, I was able to get my own real estate company with 4 people working for me. At the age of 26, I was given buildings to sell, and we sold those buildings in about a month. At the age of 27, I earned my first $1 million. At the age of 28, I was a multi-millionaire, awarded by the royal family of Dubai, which is a huge thing for me because I grew up, I lived all my life in Dubai, being awarded by the Prime Minister's office as one of the top best real estate developers in the region. And for me, that was an amazing dream. So from the age of 17 all the way till at the age of 28. And then I realized something very interesting. Now, if you've ever been to Dubai, you'll realize that these guys are total car frenzy, the best, the flashiest, the fastest cars in the world because the roads are so smooth. If you leave a cup of tea on your dashboard and go for 100 to 200 kilometers, the tea won't fall because the roads are so smooth. Just to give you an idea of the roads there. So what I realized was, okay, I've got the best cars I was driving. I've got the best places. I've got the best lifestyle. Is that it? That's it? That's all what there is to life? And trust me, you don't need $1 million to live. Because I've been there. Then I realized my higher purpose. It's about giving it back. All the struggles, the challenges I went through in my life, I had a story to share. A friend of mine said, you need to be up on the stage and to start talking to people. I was doing that anyways. And I said, let's make it a story. Let's go and start empowering people. Let's start giving it back. And that's where the journey of the Unstoppable Millionaire started. I'm the founder and the owner of the Unstoppable Millionaire Academy. And our task is actually to go out and empower people. I've been 7 days in this absolutely fantastic country of yours, South Africa. Wow. Lovely people. Great smile. Yesterday, we were flying from Durban. We were supposed to take a flight at 9 o'clock. The flight got delayed. We reached here at 1:30 in the morning. And I still remember Andrew, who is with me. He was talking to the driver. And the driver was so energetic. He says he'll sleep in the car. After 2 hours, he's back to work. Why do you want to work so hard? Because he wants to own his own taxi company. And I was like, wow, look at these guys. They have dreams, they have hopes. And I was like, I felt so blessed being over here in South Africa. And I was like, wow. Because these guys want to make a difference. You are here because you want to make a difference. Under the Unstoppable Millionaire Academy platform, we have helped over 50,000 people just in the last 1.5 years to become entrepreneurs. Some of them are millionaires. And here's the biggest misconception people have about being a millionaire. You know what that is? They think that they need to have $1 million in their bank accounts to be a millionaire. While that is true, but that's not how you become a millionaire. So before I talk about how you become a millionaire, there's a very important word called the unstoppable. So I've got a question for you. And before I ask you that question, I just want to see by the show of hands or by the raise of hands, how many of you have done business before or are business owners? Can I see a show of hands, please? Wow, that's like 45% people in this room. Thank you. And how many of you do a job or were involved in a job at some point in your life? Can I see a show of hands, please? So that's pretty much the rest of you. Thank you so much for that. So the question is that how do you beat someone who is unbeatable? How do you stop someone who cannot be stopped? Think about it. Think about what if your life was like that? What if, just the way a lot of people are scared of dying, what if you knew you couldn't die? How would you live your life differently? What would change based on what you have been doing so far? Just imagine. So if nothing could stop you, now the best example to give you a creative image would be the Incredible Hulk. What happens when he gets angry? Now, I don't want you to get angry to become unstoppable, right? But when he gets angry, what happens? He becomes strong, he grows. And do you know that you can grow within your own self when you breathe differently? When you have a different state of mind, different physiology. We'll see how much time we have and how much we will cover. Otherwise, we'll talk about that in my exclusive. You can grow as well, not as big as the Incredible Hulk. But here's the point. When he gets mad at something, the first thing he does is he focuses on what he's mad at. You won't see Incredible Hulk running like that everywhere. He's focused on that thing that's mad. He exactly has clarity of mind on what he wants to do, right? And what does he do after that? After that, havoc happens. No matter what comes in its way, it's gone, it's dead. It's done, it's crushed, it's eliminated. Nothing comes in the way. Good enough an image of being unstoppable? Right? Nothing. You have been sitting here for over 12 hours. How amazing is that? That's why you made it to the 20% of the people who even are sitting here. The other 80% are gone. That's a very motivating sign for whatever you want to do in life. That's the meaning of unstoppable. Could you imagine if your life was unstoppable? Relationships, unstoppable. Health, unstoppable. Businesses, entrepreneurship, unstoppable. Anything that comes in the way is out, is crushed. How would life be like? A lot of great speakers came over here and they were giving you the how it's done. Today we go out and we ask someone, would you want to earn $1 million? I don't know how many would say no. Majority of them would say yes, I would. Would you want to be rich? I could ask the same question right now. Would you want to be rich? And the answer would be yes. Then why is it that less than 2% people even make it? I usually call myself the why man. Why? Why do we behave in a certain way that we behave? And that's where a mindset comes in. See, one of the most powerful things we have as human beings are the 6 inches right here. You take care of that, you take care of pretty much everything. Let me give you an image of that, how you can filter things in your mind. I'm pretty sure by now, almost all of you would be aware of the concept of the law of attraction. So, when you attract crap, what happens? Crap comes over, right? I don't know why I'm so fat. I don't know why I'm so fat. What happens? The mind says, yes, you are. Oh my God, look at your tummy. That doesn't help. There's so many people out there who are pointing fingers at different things. If that changed, and if that didn't happen, if that happened, and if that was due, and if today was not cloudy, I would have showed up. I would have done it. Well, the real reality is it's us. So here's a tip. Next time you ask a question, and we constantly keep asking questions, ask intelligent questions. Not the whining questions, not the complaining questions. A lot of people think that being positive is about staying positive all the time. I've met so many entrepreneurs who said that, you know what, I'm such a positive person. I'm always positive. The real meaning of being positive or having a positive mental attitude is actually staying positive in a situation where you become helpless. I'll ask you a question. How many of you in this room love surprises? Can I see a show of hands? There you go. But that's not true. Because the surprises that you don't love, you call them problems. Isn't it? Someone said challenges. Would that be a nice way to live? I have a problem. I have a challenge. What's the difference? Can you see a simple change of word, what impact it creates on your mind? One of the few things that you can actually improve starting right this minute is your vocabulary. Can you do that? Now, a habit takes minimum 90 days to kick in. So to get a new habit, you have to kick out the old habit. So keep doing it consistently and it's going to change. Make sense? Right? So change your vocabulary. If I go to that course and that person teaches me on how to come up with the words, I will change my vocabulary. No, you don't need to do that. You see, this guy who is fat, who's complaining, oh my God, how am I so fat? Why am I so fat? Look at me, I'm so fat. Wrong questions, right? All he has to do is wear the joggers, run. No, but it's too cold. It's too cloudy. It's raining. Wait till I go and get my branded joggers from the shop. I didn't have the money to get the joggers. You can come up with all the excuses in the world you want to. This is what I learned building businesses. I built $1 million businesses one after the other. What I've learned is you can go wrong 99% of the times. All you need is to be right 1%. And that changes. You can take examples of so many people in this real world who have gone wrong so many times. Earlier, someone was speaking about Thomas Alva Edison, the person who invented the light bulb. 1,000 times. Went wrong 1,000 times. Someone asked him, Mr. Edison, what keeps you going? That was his attitude. I knew 1,000 ways how a light bulb cannot be invented. I knew I'm getting close to achieving my goal. Wow. That's attitude. Now, that's mindset. Now, how many of us could do that? We get knocked down once in our life and boom, we are down on the floor. Most of us are done. In fact, most of us don't even try that far. Some of us who try that far get knocked down and they're done. I've got some news for you. No matter how strong you think you are, and that's what I thought as well. Oh, I'm so strong, bring it on. Life will knock you down. It will. Believe it or not. All the richest, most successful people, legends, who have lived in this world, life knocked them down. It's not how many knocks you get, but how many times you can pick yourself back up and keep moving forward again and again. Because when you do that, you change. Remember, the only thing that needs to change is you. Pretty much all the speakers today were talking about changing who? the presentation hall, the weather. No, they're talking about changing you. The only thing that needs to change is you. So if something goes wrong in life, remember one thing. That one thing that is missing is you. If success was a person, if I could dress up success as a human being, okay, and I would say, okay, success, go. Go for someone. Success won't go for the person who works hard. Success won't go for the person who hopes that they become successful. But success goes to the person who deserves it. That's it. Success goes to the person who deserves it. That's it. A lot of people say, but that's not fair. I've been working very hard. I asked myself the same question. You see, in 2008, 2009, my real estate business was worth $300 million. $300 million. I had over 400 people working for me. I was a director of 13 or 14 different companies, from real estate to construction to development. I was literally involved in so many things. I had over 9,500 registered agents, property agents. Dubai doesn't even have 9,000 property agents. They were international, worldwide. That's how successful it became. But you know what happened to me? I wasn't happy. I felt I built my own prison that is so strong. I would start my day at 7 in the morning, finish at 1, 2 in the morning. And I wasn't happy about it. Something needs to change. For someone who hasn't achieved something like that, they will look and say, wow, that's amazing. Why would you want to change that? For me, happiness was important. And how did I get happy? By giving it back. I'm also the author of the Unstoppable Millionaire book. It's there at the back somewhere. I talk about paying it forward, giving it back. Because remember one thing. If you have a dream to buy a house, if you have a dream to drive the best car, or whatever your dream is related to, it's never about you. Think about it. I was with someone once and he says his dream is to get one of these amazing sports cars. And I said, okay, why? He says, because it's amazing. It's a sports car, it's Maserati, come on. And I've driven Maserati, so I knew what he was talking about, right? Why? Because when I sit in there, I'll feel good. Why? Just like a kid, asking questions, why? And he says, at the end, it boiled down to what? Emotions. And not he alone. I said, so you will keep driving this car all by yourself again and again? He said, no. Because my wife will feel good about it. And I'm not even sure if that was true for him, but, you know. So it's about contribution. If your dream is to buy a house, it's not for you, is it? I'd like to buy $1 million property so I can live all by myself in it, is it? No, it's not. It's all about giving it back. People you love and care the most. So as an entrepreneur, why do over 98% of them fail? Why? So what are you? I'm an entrepreneur. Could you spell that? Oh, not sure. I'm an entrepreneur because it's very fancy. I'm an entrepreneur because that's the next big thing. That's what a lot of people do. If you went to a school where someone told you the chances of you failing are 98%, would you dare? In school where I grew up in Dubai, it was 50%. 51% means I'm passed in school. In the world of entrepreneurship, it's 2%. 98% fail. Scary. What makes you different? Skills, absolutely important. Knowledge, absolutely important. But the most important thing about being an entrepreneur is psychology. Psychology. 80% is psychology. And that's what I'll be talking about today. 80% is what? Psychology. A lot of you say, but? There's no but. I'll give you an example. Have you ever done something in your life? Think about this for a second. Have you ever done something in your life you look back and say, that was me? Mm-hmm. You feel proud about it. What happened? You surprised yourself. Why? Go in that moment if you can think of it, and what do you feel? How are you? How are you breathing? If you were standing, sitting, how are you sitting? Think about that. You surprised yourself. Now go back and think of a moment where you said, oh my God, how stupid can I be? I have one of those moments, 2009, lost $16 million. And then went and took one of Robert Kiyosaki's course, and he said, let me show you what you're not supposed to do. And I checked all the boxes. I did that, I did that, I did that, I did that, $16 million. And I look back and say, oh my God, how stupid I could be. What happens to a psychology when that happens? How does your body react when you fail? 2% entrepreneurs, when they fail, they've got a smile on their face. They have a smile on their face and people think, weirdo, weird guy. That's what they think. History is filled with examples, right? Late Steve Jobs, Apple, $500 billion company today. What did he do? When he took over, he said, give me a salary of $1 a year. Give me shares in this company, and I'll turn it around. Weirdo. The company is going bankrupt. He wants to work for $1 per annum. What kind of person he is? That's just one example, and then you know the rest of the story. Mark Zuckerberg. He sits with the board of Harvard. He gets expelled, and he says, I did you guys a favor. What? By hacking into our system? How is that a favor? They couldn't see his vision. Last year, he was sitting with President Barack Obama talking about the economy of the United States. Weirdo. At least then, 2% act, behave, think differently. If you had the vision or the eyes of the 2% people, you'll realize that the way they look at things are so different. We call that perspective. I want to start with a small story. Imagine this small kid who's really small and he's growing up, right? And as he grows up, you're like, so what do you want to be? Spider-Man, Superman. They grow up a little more. They're like, oh, they don't exist. So what do you want to be now? I want to be an astronaut. I want to be a pilot. And they grow up 20, 30, 35, 40. What happened? What happened? Life happened. What changed? See, kids are amazing, right? They know how to have fun. If they want something, they go and get it. I've got two beautiful nephews. I'm not married, so I don't have any kids, but they're a handful. And just to be with them and, just to see how they behave, like amazing. If they want something, they find a way to get it. They get your attention, they get it. But what happens when we grow? In our 20 years of schooling, what are we taught? Failing is bad. At least when I grew up, my dad never said, go and fail and feel very proud of you. Dads, moms, did you ever? No. For 20 years, we were taught what? Failing is bad, failing is bad, failing is bad. So this kid grows up, oh my God, failing is bad. I grew up the same way. My GPA was 3.6. When I graduated being a software engineer, failing is bad, failing is bad. That's how we grew up. So what happens to this person now when they come in real life, in the world of entrepreneurship? Failing is bad. I don't want to fail. So hence, I'm not going to take a risk. What? I have to pay $100 for that? No way. Failing is bad. The brain is conditioned. Our brain is conditioned to protect us. That's how it's conditioned. The good news is you can reprogram it. But that takes time, effort, energy, and being in seminars like these. Right? So what changes then? If in our schooling system, people were taught, kids were taught, failing is not bad. Because when you go in your real life, the only way to succeed is by failing. I don't know any successful person who just kept on doing things one after the other and he became successful without failing. Most of us grow up with the fear of failing. Failing is bad. Jim Rohn said that if you're so scared of living, always know your biggest risk. You know what's the biggest risk of living? No one gets out alive. Think about that. You don't. You just have one life to live. So failing is bad. Failing is bad. And you go out, you want to be an entrepreneur, something has to change in you. I remember an uncle of mine worked for almost 47 years with Dubai Airports, with Emirates, starts a business using all his gratuity money, and in less than 6 months, all the money is gone. Lost all the money in the business. Why? Mindset. Skills, knowledge comes secondary, mindset. So if you're going to be an entrepreneur with failing is bad mentality, you're not going to go too far. In fact, one of the biggest breakthroughs we as human beings, as individuals have, is the fear of failing. All of us at some point has this fear because of the 6 basic human needs. One of them is certainty, one of them is uncertainty, depending which of those needs are higher in you. For some of you, you have to be certain. You need to know all the way through. For some of you, it's like, let's take the first step and see what happens next. Let's take the next step and see what happens next. So depending which one you control more in your life, the fear is lesser or higher. So what is fear? So I'm going to teach you one thing, just one thing. What is fear? Has anyone seen fear lately? Did you meet fear somewhere sitting around? No, you didn't, right? So, what is fear? False evidence appearing real. So, what is fear? Fear is a false evidence. You build it up in your mind that you made real. The more you focus on it, the more real it gets. Oh my God, I'm so bad in sales. I can't do sales. People are not bad in sales. The real reality is they are fearful of rejection. They're not bad in sales. I can't pick up a phone and sell something to someone. Why? I don't know. Then how do you invite people on a weekend for dinner? Or go out for a movie or hang around with them? You're not fearful about that. People are fearful about many things. So Robert Kiyosaki said that if you want to be an entrepreneur, learn to sell. If you can't sell, you can't be an entrepreneur. At least learn to sell yourself. The least of the things. Learn how to promote yourself. So how can we remove this? Eliminate it, eradicate it, dance with it, minimize it. Many ways of doing that. Eliminating fear doesn't exist. See, fear is like those bacteria cells, the good ones and the bad ones in your body. They're there. When they get triggered, something bad happens. Otherwise, they're there. So fear is always there. You can minimize it. You can minimize it. So we're talking about fear of failing, right? So if I told you that 98% of the time you're going to fail being an entrepreneur, the chances of you failing are 98%. So imagine if you substitute this with life and death. If you go to a doctor, a checkup is done, the doctor says, your chances of surviving are 2%. And why am I comparing business or entrepreneurship with life? Because if you want to succeed, you have to do something more than what an average person does. You have to want it bad enough, otherwise it's not going to come to you. Remember we spoke about success as an individual. It won't come to you. Simple as that. So the first question is, do you want it bad enough? E.T. said, if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, then you're going to be successful. So if you had to stop breathing for a while, what's the first thing you're going to think? Most of us would think about how to live. So he says that if you want to succeed as bad as you want to breathe, which means someone wakes up at 3 o'clock in the morning, and boom, you know exactly what your mission is, what your vision is, where you're going, and what you're contributing, and what your business is all about. Could you believe that I've slept 3 hours and I'm standing over here? I've been here for the last 13 hours. And doing this, that's amazing. Why? Because all you need to learn is how to tame these 6 inches right here. You control that, everything else is controlled. So, once again, let's go back here. False evidence appearing real. If you can make the fear grow, who can make it go away? You. One way of doing that is by not focusing. What you focus on is where your energy flows. You focus on something negative, you start talking about negative stuff. If you focus on something positive, you start talking about something positive. So if you focus on your fear, oh my God, what will happen? Oh my God, what if I fail? Could you imagine driving a car thinking, oh my God, what if someone hits me? Oh my God, what if I bump into someone? And you keep saying that repeatedly again and again because you focus on it, the chances of you hitting someone is going to be very high. Because you're conditioning your mind again and again on what you shouldn't do. And by doing that, your mind actually says, oh my God, I should go and do it. That's how it works. So what you focus on is what you get. Mindset. We're talking about mindset. That's point number 1. Fear of failing. Now, if you can handle that, remember I gave you an example. What if you were immortal? Some of you would say, but we are not. But we're not immortal. So you've got 2 options, right? Live or die. Les Brown said, most people die at the age of 25 and they get buried when they're 60. We call them the living dead. Day after day, night after night, they're like the living dead. You know, you've seen those zombie movies? Like the living dead. What's your purpose? One of the things I talk about in my book is your goal. What's your goal? Short term, long term. If your goal doesn't scare you, then it's not a goal. Then you're just kidding yourself. If it's not higher, and how does the goal scare you? When you know that you actually have to step out of your comfort zone. Comfort zone. No matter where you are in your life today, you're in your comfort zone. And your goal is outside the comfort zone. But some of you would say, but Tahir, I work 12 hours a day and I do 2 jobs just to make a living. Comfort zone. In Malaysia, I live in a very nice condo. So every time when I wake up in the morning, at 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock in the morning, I see this huge traffic jam. And trust me, the South African traffic jam is nothing compared to what we have in Kuala Lumpur. Right? I met a taxi driver. He was stuck in a jam. And he says, oh, today we have a jam. There were like, I don't know, a couple of cars. And I was just like, you should see how we do it in Malaysia. And I see that traffic jam in the morning. In the evening, 5, 6 o'clock, I see the same traffic jam in a different direction, in a reverse direction. Right? What? They're very happy. I've not met someone who says, oh yeah, today I'm going to get stuck in a traffic jam for 1 hour, and then I'm going to work 8 hours, then I'm going to get stuck in a traffic jam again for 1 hour, and I'll be back. I'm so motivated. I can't think of anyone like that. So my question is, how can someone do that consistently again and again? I can't. I get pretty irritated when I get stuck in a traffic jam. They became uncomfortable, but they became comfortable being uncomfortable. Do you understand what I'm saying? The living dead. They became comfortable being uncomfortable. They're like, that's how life is. That's all what there is to life. That's your comfort zone. Right? Now, to get out of your comfort zone, you need to do what? If your goal is there, how do you get out? You have to expand your comfort zone. You have to expand your comfort zone. And in the process of expanding your comfort zone, remember one thing. Growth is painful. Growth is painful. Think of someone who's doing bodybuilding. If you don't do, at least you know how the concept works. Right? It's painful, but they still do it. Why? Because that's how the muscles grow. That's what is needed. Do you know anyone who was, watching TV all the time, eating popcorn, and had six packs? Ever happened? I can't think of any point when such a thing happened, right? Why does it not happen? It's pretty interesting though, right? Sow, and you shall reap. It doesn't say whine about it, and you shall reap. It says sow. We live in a planet where there are certain rules that you need to live by. And the rule is, could you imagine a student saying that, give me a good job, and then I'll go and study very hard and show you how good I am. A farmer saying, God, give me great crops this year. I promise you I'll work very hard next year. Does it work that way? It doesn't. Brian Tracy said, if you don't like the laws of this planet, change your planet. That's the only option. Because these are the laws. So if you want to achieve your goals and they're outside your comfort zone, you need to expand your comfort zone. How do you do that? By being uncomfortable. I mean, these people who actually struggle in the everyday life, and I met some of them today, and I asked them this question, are you happy? I met a mother who sees her children only on weekends so she can actually make a living. Today, are you happy? They're uncomfortable, but for some reason they're finding reasons, sources, and how they can expand that. But here's the misconception. They think that the grass is greener on the other side. They think that for some reason this would be like a walk in a park, because what most people do is, where they are in their life, they compare the situation of the successful person there. Wow, the grass is so green on the other side. That guy is over there. You want to be an entrepreneur? So read Richard Branson, Anthony Robbins, Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, so many of these people, right? But if you study their life, how they did what they did over all these years, you'll realize that they became uncomfortable. I started by saying that 2% entrepreneurs, when they fail at something, they smile about it. You know how difficult that is? You know what's the meaning of difficult? Anything that you are incapable of doing is difficult. Otherwise, the people have walked on the moon as well. Can you imagine that? Your first day at work, your first day at business, was it easy? Probably not. Were you nervous? Probably yes. Second day, third day, 1 year, 5 years, walk in a park. Here's what I'd like to end up with. So your goals are there. The number one thing that you need to work on growing is you. And I'll tell you why. I'm going to use the word problem specifically. So these are two scales. From 1 to 10. From 1 to 10. All right? Now, let's say, on a scale of 1 to 10, you are a 3 in your life. You are a 3. Okay? Now, on a scale of 1 to 10, let's say your problem is a 5. What happens? Very big problem. Very big problem. But let's say that someone you know in your life is an 8. And you go to this person and say, well, this is the problem. I can't solve it. This guy looks at the problem and says, where is the problem? I can't see a problem. Has it ever happened with you? Someone came to you and said, oh my God, this is what happened. And you look at the whole thing like, what's the problem? I don't see a problem. Why? Because the problem will always be there, which we call as challenges. You need to grow. I'll give an example. In 2008, 2009, lots of people lost a lot of money when the Wall Street market came down. I know people who lost $1 million and they committed suicide. $1 million. So you go and ask someone like Donald Trump, Mr. Donald Trump, how would you feel if you lose $1 million? Would you commit a suicide, by the way? No. Why? Where do you think Donald Trump is on the scale of 1 to 10? 10. What do you think the problem for Donald Trump is if he loses $1 million? Probably minus 1.0 or something. What are you talking about? Am I making sense? When we grow, the problem becomes small. When we grow, the problem becomes small. I've helped people, in many cases, financial, people who wanted to kill themselves, and helped them grow. And then they look back and laugh about it. They're like, silly me. What changed? You changed. So as an entrepreneur, this is one of my teachings. As an entrepreneur, you need to learn how you can have challenges for your breakfast every day. Every day. It becomes a habit. Every day. Because when you start doing that, you start to grow, and your problems or your challenges start to shrink because you're growing. How does Sir Richard Branson manage over 200 brands under the Virgin Group? I don't know. Because most of us struggle managing one business. One business. Now this gentleman manages over 200 brands. What happened? He grew. Make sense? So next time when you come across a problem as an entrepreneur, change your vocabulary, change your physiology, because that's very important. Protect your 6 inches. That's very important, because if it gets to you, you're done. It's like your brain needs to have an anti-defense missile system. The moment a thought is coming in and it does the wrong thought, it just destroys it off. It's the wrong thought. So you need to protect it. No one else will do it for you. Remember that. Okay? And every time you face a problem, you need to ask, what am I going to learn from it? The biggest lesson I learned when I grew in my life, and life has taught me a lot of lessons, from fear of failure to getting rejected again and again. The biggest lesson I learned was in 2009, when I lost millions of dollars. Now, you don't have to lose millions of dollars to learn these lessons. They're out there everywhere, so learn from them. Now, life will teach you lessons. Put 2 people in a situation, and one will say, God, why are you punishing me for this? And I said this to myself when I was building my real estate business. Oh my God, I was nice to people. I did everything by the books. I did everything right. Why did this happen? Why did Wall Street have to collapse? How would have I known that? 2008, 2009, right? Till I look back now and say, wow, I learned so much more. What happened? I grew. Right? The other person is like, God is testing me. God is challenging me. So I can get stronger. So I can grow. That's called attitude. That's called a positive mental attitude. Positive mental attitude is an attitude, a quality of having a mindset of staying positive when things don't go the way you presumed they should go. That's called a positive mental attitude. Not when things are going the way you want them to go. When things don't go the way you want them to go, that's called having a positive mental attitude. What is the positive lesson? Every adversity will leave a positive lesson. The question is, are you willing to learn? That's the only question. Are you willing to learn? So today, in these few minutes, all I wanted to do was share with you just some of the tips on how we can help change our mindsets. And we're running out of time, so what I'd like to do is wrap it up with 2 things. One is that we're doing an exclusive on Wednesday in Johannesburg. This will be the only exclusive. I would be doing it before I leave back for Malaysia and then Indonesia and Philippines. And show up from 2 o'clock till 5 o'clock in the evening. We're going to do so much more about what we are just doing. Usually, if you were sitting in Kuala Lumpur right now, we would charge you $199 for this particular exclusive. But because it's my first time in South Africa, and because of Conray, the person responsible for putting this amazing Richer Life event together, I think he deserves a huge round of applause for that. for what he is doing for the people of this country. We're going to have it absolutely 100% free. 3-hour session that talks about breaking any and all mental barriers that you actually have in life. 3-hour session. Could be personal, could be relationship, could be business, could be literally, it could be money. My book speaks about that too. And if you need more information, you can ask me or one of our assistants over there at the back end. I'll finish with this particular story. Let me see if I have a dollar note or something. Let's see. No, I don't think so. So imagine this is $100. Just imagine for a minute, right? Imagine this is $100. And I'll show you the power of entrepreneurship, right? So this is $100. Now, why $100? Because that's the biggest note in the United States. Okay? Now imagine what happens if Bill Gates drops $100 while he's working. So let's say Bill Gates has $100 in his pocket and accidentally drops while he's working. Oh, I dropped $100. Oops. By the time he gets up, he gets down and picks it up, he earns a couple of 100 times more than the $100. No kidding. That's just one example of entrepreneurship. Yes, the chances of you failing or anyone failing is 98%. But entrepreneurs do much more than think about themselves. That's the reason they make it in the 2%. Because they think about how they can constantly keep adding value to people. That's what they keep thinking about, constantly. See, Tony Robbins said something very interesting a month ago in an interview. He said, if you want to be rich once, you can find shortcuts, cheat people once in a while, and you can actually be that. But if you want to stay rich, you have to find constant methods of adding value to people, of making a difference in the world, making this world a better place. Because that's the only way. Give so much more than what people expect. Not like a barter trade. I'll give you this, you give me that. We don't live in that world anymore. Give so much of value, you're like, I don't know how to do that. Find out, figure it out, because that is what will be the defining factor between the 2% and the 98%. Find so much of value that they would say, oh my God, how can I not take this? That's the world of entrepreneurship. So I look forward to seeing you all on Wednesday from 2 to 5. Thank you so much for being such a lovely audience. God bless you all. Have a good evening.